G'day cobbers, I'm Pan, I'm the fat man that never wanted to grow up, and this is the Lake of Voices. So, we are on our third episode of this, and I think when we last left we were jumped, well not jumped, but one of the Nexi snuck up behind us and one came from the front, and we used one of our lanterns to scare one of them off. But one of the Nexi sort of reached up and grabbed it when the light went out. So we are down to 3 lanterns, and I'm not sure if we're any closer to completing or getting across the bridge anyway. So remember in the first one we took the safe choices and we stayed behind, and Margret here didn't make it across. So obviously when one of those got on the bridge, our nameless guide didn't want to get rid of his lantern, so he used Margaret's, and she somehow got lost or captured. She wasn't quick enough in kicking her hand off or something. So let's continue on and find out in our own way what's going on or what's going to go on. Like I said, I think there's only 5 or so different endings other than the safe one. So as far as I'm concerned, we get through it once, I'm happy. So I don't think we're going to do all 5 endings. But so this is where we left off with a nervous laugh bubbles up out of me and just as quickly stops. Bemele chuckles in response, and our collective tension eases up, the adrenaline draining from our bodies. So this is where we left off. So
we need to keep walking.
Yes, our nameless guide says. The guide starts down the bridge again and we join him. I try to clamp down on the relief, the ease that wants to flood my head. It's not over yet. The prowler is gone, but so is Bemele's lantern. See, we're down a lantern. But I think him and I are side by side, so it doesn't matter.
You can stay near me, Bemele, since your lantern is lost.
There you go.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. Margret goes on ahead of us. Bemele stays by my side as I keep at the end of the line. We're gonna stop for a break or what? The breath of release from Margret and Bemele is quickly swallowed by the somber atmosphere of sin loss as well, replaced by the gravity of the near-death experience. Never mind celebrating his survival, something like that shouldn't have happened in the first place. How could it not have? I have no idea. The memory of the prowler reaching out towards us appears each time I close my eyes.
Why does it look like something's dripping down their faces?
It's the crap from the water. When they get out, you know, water does what it does. The prowlers are on Margaret's mind too. Looking at her pained expression, it's as though the moment of relief never existed at all.
I'm not sure.
It didn't happen to her.
Me neither. Something's wrong with them, though. They live in water. Air shouldn't be good for the things, but they want to drown humans so much they're willing to drag themselves around on land? It's not right.
No. Of course it isn't. They are monsters. They likely do they likely do not understand even the concept of right and wrong.
Well, I don't disagree that there's something very wrong about them. I truly hope that's the last we'll see of the prowlers.
Ha ha ha. Something comes to our mind, causing Margaret to end her part of the conversation early. She reliving her death from the first episode.
Since you two have to share a light, wouldn't it be safer to be in the middle?
Margaret stops and waits for Bemele and I to reach her position.
That way, you'll catch the edges of my light and the guides, and it won't be so dangerous if Bemele loses his position momentarily.
Bemele?
That's a very kind offer, Margret.
Bemele's surprise is so apparent I want to cover his face with my hands to stop him from insulting her. She merely smirks. I think Margaret may be surprised with herself too. Bemele returns to his usual surety.
As thoughtful as it is, I, at least, am fine with bringing up the rear. I'm used to keeping watch for monsters, and since there are two of us, I can pay attention to the back while Kika focuses ahead.
Smart.
It's not my light, though, so I shouldn't be the one to decide what she should do with it.
Margaret and Bemele turn to look at me in unison. Seems like it's my decision. Neither of them are wrong. As for me, my goal is to protect everyone. I can't very well do that with Margaret following behind us. But being stuck in the middle of a group could also be dangerous depending on what circumstances we come across. Getting pincered by the enemy would be an almost sure death no matter how experienced Bemele and I are. I just don't know what to expect from this bridge, and that makes things so much more difficult.
So you're staying behind?
Yes.
Seems like it.
Yes, I think we'll be good here. But really, thank you.
Well, alright.
Margaret respects our decision and trots ahead a bit to catch back up with the guide, he who has paid no mind to the entire affair.
So, I don't want to sound like a child, but how much longer until we arrive at the halfway point?
Margaret chuckles, reflecting the amusement I don't want to vocalize.
We still have some ways to go.
Okay.
Damn.
I suppressed my laughter yet again at the pouting response. The gloom we've been under dissipates slightly, like light flickering through the fog.
The first trial tends to be the most difficult. I believe we will only react better from this point on.
I like the way you think.
Then a gleam enters Bemele's eyes and he grins.
I think Kika deserves a round of applause. Her quick reflexes are owed the utmost appreciation.
I don't think we want to make too much noise. He leans softly into my shoulder, trying to get me to... what?
It was indeed a sight. You're quite capable. Bemele was also a sight, but for very different reasons. The way he froze with his mouth all agape was a laugh in itself.
Bemele shakes a fist at Margaret in mock anger, and then shoots me an affectionate look.
You should know, she and I are usually on equal footing.
The only reason you had footing at all is because she pulled you back.
Now. Bemele laughs self-consciously, scratching at his head.
That's very true. You can always count on Kika.
You can? I keep my eyes steadily ahead, unsure how I should respond. I'm pleased, almost grateful, to hear what they think of me, but I don't know what I could say that wouldn't seem pathetic. Instead, I contribute the best way I can. I keep my focus on the path ahead of us. Without a response from me, the conversation quickly dies out. Still, it eases my heart to be such friendly terms with my companions. Blair. After some time, I notice Margaret isn't keeping up with the guide as much as she was before. I realize it's because the guide has increased his pace. Margaret begins to jog in an effort to keep up with him, but Bemele and Bemele and I do the same. Despite this, the guide keeps getting further away. We go faster and faster until suddenly we're full on sprinting across the slick wooden boards. Now guys, that's not... Figures in the dark fog fly past us at a blur, and it occurs to me that the branching paths in the bridge appear to be sinking. I try hard to swallow my rising panic. The guide shouts something, but is drowned out by the frantic pounding of our footsteps. I'm trying to piece together what he said. Don't stop. Turn. When he takes a masterfully sharp right down a different path, using his own momentum and the sleek wood to slide into the new direction with no loss of speed. Margret must not have worked out the warning either, as she is completely caught off guard by the guide's changing course. She runs straight ahead past the turn and continues down the path we've been following until now. She clumsily begins to halt her momentum down the wrong bridge, and then I come upon the fork. I make a hard turn, following the guide, leaving Margret at the rear. Bemele's footsteps stay as loud as they were before. He's made the turn as close behind me as ever. Out of the corner of my eye, I see Margret turn around to try to come back to us, only to have the bridge in front of her fall away. I slow down for a breath, feeling the impulse to turn back, but ignore it, there's no time. Margret can make the jump and then she'll rejoin us. I keep my eyes glued to the guide's back, ears perked for Margret's footsteps approaching behind us, and then I hear it. A scream. I whip around, sliding to a stop. Margret is sinking. The bridge she's on is sinking into the water. She's disappearing. She didn't jump.
What are you doing?
Margret's head shoots up, her face drained of all colour. She stumbles near the edge of the bridge, staring at the placid water of the lake. Even from a distance I can see her shaking. I can't say if it's from the bridge descent or her own fear. She barely seems to remain standing. I swallow painfully. Margret bends and tries to jump. She curves in a small arc, achieving more height than she should, and lands directly in the lake with a muted splash. Bemele starts beside me, but I grab his hand and pull. We start running again, leaving Margret flailing in the water behind. We don't need to watch this. We both know exactly what will happen to her now. Margaret's anguished cries pierce the night, and then the screaming stops. My legs grow weak. It isn't right, but I push myself to keep going. Bemele curses between heavy breaths, calling those things every foul name in his large book. I try to focus on the pounding of my feet, but my brain won't cooperate. Instead, I imagine Margret's terror as she's clawed to pieces by the Nixie. After everything, I didn't help her. We left her in the dark. As the night wears on, our strength rapidly fades. There's someone clapping. How much longer will this last? People have to rest sometime. Almost as if in response to my thought, the guide abruptly halts. I skid to a stop as well, sliding on the surface of the wood.
Why did we stop?
Bemele's voice is tired, but his guard is up. The guide doesn't answer, just stares at something slightly out of view. I step up to join him, following his gaze further down the path. There, curled in a little ball, illuminated by the lantern light, cowers a person. His hands grip his head and he rocks from side to side, mumbling incoherently.
It's a man.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I couldn't. I just couldn't. Please. I'm sorry.
I'm struck with an array of questions. What is going on? Why would he wander out onto the bridges on his own? Did he make it this far by himself? Were there others with him? Is this an exchange, like we gave the Nixies Margret and they gave us this guy? If that's somehow the case, I can't blame him for the state of shock he's in. The man stops mumbling. He glances above him, seeming only just now having the strength to lift his head. His expression, the deepest sadness, along with the clear markings of terror, are scrawled across his face. I stare at him in shock, not sure what to do.
Leave him.
But we have another sacrifice. I snap my eyes away from the man and instead to the guide's cold, implacable face.
No! We can't just leave him here! Without light, it's certain he'll die!
He won't make it regardless.
Well, the better to take him with us, so that way he's our sacrifice. The guide turns to look at us, his eyes seeming to glow with the closeness of his lantern. For the first time, I feel uncomfortable in his presence.
Whoever shelters him will only risk dragging themselves down with him. Leave him.
I glance at my partner. Bemele is outraged. And why did you run? What was the deal with the running part? I'm trying to think of some kind of compromise when the guide speaks again, his voice cutting.
If the man comes, then whoever is shielding him will have to remain at a distance from the rest of the group. Far enough that you can't see me, just my light. That is how you will travel across the bridges.
Okay. Then whoever is shielding him will have to remain at a distance from the rest of the group. We're already down a lantern. Margret took hers with no.
I didn't agree to lead this man, and I won't. If you ask me to, I will leave you all behind.
We have to get to the village. Adrenaline surges through my veins and I tense up. It's a painful reminder that the guide isn't here to save our lives, but merely to show us the way. We're on our own. Bemele and I frantically share more looks between each other, trying to communicate without words. Neither of us have a desire to speak and be the first to make a choice. The man is standing now, though still hunched with his arms wrapped around himself as if expecting a blow. He stares at the ground rather than at us. Because of this, I'm having trouble reading his face. What exactly happened to him?
Are you well, stranger? Do you know where you are and why you're here?
He glances up, not at me, but towards me, his eyes resting somewhere near my collarbone. Dude, my eyes are up here, man.
I'm fine. You all can go on your way. Forget you even saw me here.
Done and done.
That's absurd! You have no way to defend yourself. We can't leave you.
Yes, I'm sure in your eyes I might not seem like much, but that's not exactly a fair shake. Maybe in a perfect world, every man would be as large as you, but that's not how things always go. Doesn't mean I'm defenseless.
See? The man's response is meandering. The words themselves seem to be in good jest, but he's barely looking at us, fidgeting with his hands. Bemele frowns, unimpressed.
It was a joke.
It was? He smiles hesitantly, making eye contact with each of us for the first time.
What part of it was supposed to be the joke? Do you even realize what is happening in this moment?
Never mind. Forget that too. Point is, I'm alright.
See? He's fine.
You have found yourself out alone and unlit on Sinlos.
Exactly! Something must...
Oh no, sounds like you've been talking with my father.
Okay. He lets out a weak little laugh coupled with an eyebrow raised, voice trembling. No one really knows what to make of this. The man gives a small wave and begins down the path we came. Emily huffs, tossing his hands into the air.
That's not even the right way.
How do you know? You don't know which way he was going.
It is for me.
See?
Oh? You must have come quite a ways if it was the other shore you started on.
The man's smile grows.
Good. That's not so bad.
There's no response to this remark, unsure of what could be said.
I still think he should come with us. A person needs a light, and the guide himself said he won't be able to manage on his own. Sticking with us is his best option.
No, it's not. He made it this far on his own. Maybe. I look over the man's body, noting the scrawniness of his limbs. Scrawny, but not necessarily lacking in muscle. The bravado he was showing as he tried to leave us has faded yet again. And now he's standing quietly, looking at us as if watching a play. No. Interest, but no true connection to the events.
It's easy for you to say such things, but whose light are you offering?
We only have two.
It's not mine, and you are putting her in even more danger with your own presence already.
Who? Bemele's hands turn into fists. He looks away, but doesn't say anything. For a moment, no one does. I feel a cold sweat on my brow as what I feared comes to pass. He's stopping us from protecting another. Why must he get involved now? Why can't he not leave us to make our own decisions?
Don't worry about me.
See?
I'll be on my way now.
He's fine. The man's voice is full of something I cannot place, and he starts to shuffle back down the way we came, arms still clenched around himself. I know the guide wants to act as though there is no option, however I could stay back with him. No. It'll put Bemele and myself at significantly more risk, but at least this man will stand a chance. Can't risk it. Bemele stares at the man as he leaves. We both watch him drag his little frame down the bridge, quickly fading from sight. We had to let him go. We've already suffered the loss of one of our own. See? The spacer man vanished into is dark and silent. We can see and hear nothing of him, not even his footsteps. He wasn't even there. The guide was right. There are no other options. Well, that is what I have to believe. We need to get through this somehow, and being weighed down with guilt will only distract us. The guide starts moving again at a quick pace. After a moment's hesitation and one last glance into the truly lifeless fog, we run to catch up to him. We walk onwards in silence. So what was the deal with the running earlier? Our party hasn't changed. The stranger was never added to it, so it's not as if it makes sense to miss him, but there's a sense of loss all the same. No one even attempts mirth. I keep thinking I should have done more. Should have pushed the guide harder to change his mind so it was less dangerous to keep the man around. Something. Anything. But I have to let this go. I'm not going to forget that man. I never forget him. but we still need to get through this. I curl my hands into fists, hoping it strengthens my resolve, and then I push forward. We turn down a different path, and the guide stops. Ahead of us stands a group of prowlers. At the sound of us, they turn their heads in unison as if they knew we were coming. I inhale. Exhale, exhale. The prowlers wriggle somehow, their skin moving more slowly than it should, sliding across their skeletons. They laugh.
We cannot lose another lantern at this point. We're almost to the island.
The guide rummages through the coat with his free hand.
What are you planning?
If you have something... Bermelet's tone is borderline threatening, but the guide ignores him. He pulls out a small pouch and then opens a latch on his lantern.
Wait, are you going to throw that at them? What if the bridge sets on fire?
It will. We're going to run.
This is insane! These bridges are hellish enough without them also being on fire. And what about the other man? If he's still out there, this could...
He's dead. We're not losing another lantern.
I agree. He says it with such detached certainty. It's as if he saw it happen himself. No one argues with him. The guide steps closer to the prowlers. We fall in the step behind him, staying close to his back. He bends his lantern back down until it's lowered to his outstretched arms. The pouch in his hand is set aflame. With a practiced flick of the wrist, he swings the staff back and up and the glass on the lantern snaps closed.
Don't get left behind.
Sage. He takes 3 quick steps and then tosses the pouch. What's with the 3 quick steps? Is he Superman? The prowlers are back into the water before the pouch even lands. As soon as it does, the fire starts to lick and curl itself around the wood. The guide breaks into a sprint and so does the rest of us. The blaze grows despite the heavy dampness from the lake. These bridges aren't normal bridges. Of course that's true. Nothing here is right. Hopefully they won't collapse with the flame. We stay on the guide's heels, almost too close for comfort. If he stops abruptly, we'll all crash into one another. Maybe even fall off the bridge. Then the world tilts. I was mid-stride when I put my foot down. The bridge isn't where it was. It lurches to one side, either because it was weakened or pushed. Bermelet and I manage to keep our ground and so does the guide. He presses on without even bothering to see if we were able to follow. Bermelet growls in frustration as we push to keep up with the guide's pace. As our storm of feet thunder across the boards, a silver sliver begins to rise into view just above the edge of the water.
It's the island.
The island? I squint, and suddenly make out the craggy forms of land and earth. I see it. We're almost there. Safety at long last in sight. New energy surges through me. We push ourselves faster, longing to put these godforsaken bridges behind our backs. All at once, the bridge ends and our entire group rushes ashore. Earth! Solid earth! A haven from the water. I catch my breath while still moving even further away from the dark shoreline. I can't believe we actually made it. Even more difficult is the idea that we're only halfway done. Fuck. When night falls once more, we have to do it all again. 5 Nights at Freddy's style, hey? A heavy arm falls across my shoulder, and I straighten to see Bemley smiling warily at me.
Good work out there.
It's not the usual commendation of a job well done. There's sadness, perhaps even sympathy in the sentence. It ends flatly. Usually Bemley's comfort and good nature give me at least the urge to smile, but right now it feels like a hollow victory. Despite still having the comfort of one another, we were incapable of doing any true good. We were only able to save ourselves. A quiet moment passes between us, and then the guide is there. He moves so smoothly that he steps on the soft sand and nearly silent. His dusky clothes blend with the thinning of the night.
The sun will rise soon. The fire on the bridge is the only reason this island isn't overrun with prowlers right now. However, they could still pose a threat.
Really? Bemley levels an empty look towards the guide.
Is there something we should do?
And I think that's where I'm going to leave it. No, let's save it on an empty slot. Okay, so it's starting to get a little suspense. I wonder who the young person was, and I wonder if they were even a person. Wonder who the guide is. Anyway. Yeah, that's neither here nor there. Anyway, hopefully in the next episode we should get to the other side and it'll be game over. Maybe. Yeah, hit that subscribe button. Hit the like button if you want. It'd really help me out. And other than that, laters.